today we are going to talk about the while loop and for loop and what's the difference between them. So we'll start with the while loop. We'll just make integer called num0, and then what are we going to do is we are going to write a while loop. So first of all, let's just talk about what exactly while loop is. While loop is used to repeat a line of code over and over again. So let's say if you want a certain task to repeat 100 times, you're not going to write 100 times that code. This task could be, let's suppose, taking input 100 times. You are not going to write c in input, c in num for 100 times in order to take the input. So what you are going to do is you can simply use while loop. So we're going to first of all type the syntax of while loop. This is the syntax of while loop, and this is where we are going to put its expression. So its expression is going to be as long as num is less than 5, let's suppose, it's going to take input, which basically means cout input num. So what it's exactly going to do is this thing is going to take input for 5 times. So how are we going to make it work for 5 times? Because here it says num is equal to 0. So right now we have num is equal, which is equal to 0. And if we were to run this program, this program would be in infinite loop. It's not going to stop because 0 is less than 5, obviously. So it's while loop, so it will keep going on, and ultimately the program will just crash. So what we want to do is we want it to stop once it gets to the fifth. So once once num is equal to 5, we'll stop it. So how are we going to do that? What are we going to do is we are going to write another line of code which is going to be something like num plus plus. What this means is num equal to num plus 1. So this line of this code basically means this. So what we are going to do is when the program will be executed for the first time, it's going to start from the 0 and it's going to go through this because this statement is true. Num is less than 5, and it's going to ask for the input, and then it's going to add num1. So now we have num1, so num will be equal to 1 now because we've just added this number here. Then second time when it's going to go through this, what we are going to get is we are going to add an other 1 to 1 existing, which basically means we'll have 2. So now this time it's 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then so basically it's going to take 5 times input. And I think we should also show the output. So we can say num is num and l. So now we are going to get output as well. Let's just run it. So here we have an input. So we are going to say I've actually done a mistake here. So basically I had to make an other integer or string, and what we've done is we've just typed num. So we'll name it name, let's say, and here we are going to say name. We've just typed num here and it wouldn't work like this. You just know the program that I wanted to make. So we'll say Andrew well, done mistake here as well. So yeah, basically what we can do is we can bring that down here. In fact, it stays here. So now we are going to get cout name is name, and this is going to get us the num. So num right now was 0. Let's just run it and see how does it work. So we'll type random just string, and it says name is this is the name, that this is the input that we've given it, and num is 0. And then we are going to do it again, and now you can see num is 1. So we are going to do it again, 2, do it again, 3, do it again, 4, and then it stopped. You might be a bit confused with 4 number. So we've said here 5, but it's 4. It's not exactly 4. It starts from 0. So technically there are 5 numbers. So if let's assume if 0 was 1, so we're gonna have 5 here. There are 5 numbers, but just the fact that it starts from the 0, it might be a bit confusing. So that's how this while loop works. If we wanted to just take input 5 times, we would have to just copy paste this 5 times, 5 different times, and we don't want to do that. So the advantage of while loop is it really condenses your code, and it improves the readability, as well as comes with its own functionality that can contribute to your program. And now we are going to talk about our for loop. For loop is pretty similar, but it's a bit different, a bit more advanced than the while loop, you can say. We are going to make this code a comment. So this is what we have here, a comment. Let's get these ones down. Let's just get them so it's a bit easier. So now what we are going to do is, we don't need this. We are going to make a program that will have exact same functionality as the while loop. The syntax of for loop is this, and then we are going to put expression. So now we are going to put 3 different details, 3 different values in our for loop. The starting value, the first value, is going to be the value where our number will start. So you've seen, as we've made before, num, which will equal to 0. So we are going to do something similar here. We are going to type int, we are going to type I, which is usually used in values in for loop, and then we are going to put these semicolons as well. Then we are going to put space. So this value is done, which basically means that we've already done the first value. Now 2 more left. The second one is going to be where we want it to stop. So as you've seen here, we've stopped it, num was less than 5. We're going to do exactly the same here. We are going to say as long as I is less than 5, and that's where we put. Again, we need to put a semicolon. And now what we need to do is, in the while loop, we assumed, and it was like an automated functionality where we had while loop going, incrementing by 1 value. Here that's not the case. Here we can minus or we can plus. We can basically decrement, increment, and perform all kind of other calculations here as well. So what we are going to do is, we are going to, the fact that we are making the simple program, so we are going to just use I plus plus, and that's it. You don't need to put semicolon at the end. And now what we have is, we have a for loop, syntax of for loop with its expression and 3 values. So these 3 values are done. This was the first, this is the second, and this is the third. So this is the starting bit, then this is where it's going to stop, and then this is where it's going to increment or decrement, or whatever we want our program, whatever action we want our program to perform. Then we are going to copy paste this, and then this time we are just going to type I, and let's just run it to see whether it works or not. As you can see, it worked. Num is 0, we'll do that, and it works exactly the same way. Okay, so let's just make another program with for loop, a very simple program. What this program is going to do, it's going to go from 0 to 10. It's going to start from the 0 and it's going to go till 10, and we are basically incrementing our numbers. As you have seen here, we're going to do cout I and just endl, run the program, and as you can see, it went from 0 to 9. There are 10 numbers, but it went from 0 to 9. So what we want it to do is we want it to run from 1 till 10. So we need to change this 0 to 1, and we need to just put equal. So now we have, as long as the I, it will start from the first one is starting statement, then it will go to the next statement, which is the stopping statement, which says something like, as long as I is less than or equal to 10, it will keep incrementing this number. Let's just run this now. So you have 1 till 10 here. Now what we want to do is we want to decrement. So we'll go something like, as long as the number is 10 and as long as I is greater than or equal to 1, decrement our value. So now it's going to go from 10 till 1. So as you can see here, now it went from 10 till 1. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and you can perform you can also perform tables as well. You can basically make tables with them. Let's just make another table as well. We'll go from 2, as long as 2 is less than and equal to 20. What it's going to do is it's going to increment by 2. As you can see here, we have table of 2 here, so we can basically perform, it's a bit like while loop, but it's much more advanced, and we can perform all sort of calculations here. So you can make tables, you can basically perform all kind of calculations, and you can manipulate your program as you like to. I hope that you understood the video, and if you do have any question, you can comment this below, and I'll be able to then basically explain you if you want me to.